We have inherent civil rights dating to the foundation of our country to be able to travel and pursue our life, and we should be able to do it without fear of an improperly installed guardrail, a Frankenstein guardrail, spearing through our vehicle and obliterating us on our nation's roadways.
A device meant to save lives has the potential to take lives. We drive by guardrails every day, and probably we don't ever think twice about them.
No, we don't. But one man made it his mission to bring attention to guardrails, specifically those installed incorrectly. He says he checked out the ones here in Idaho and found an overwhelming, dangerous, and potentially deadly problem on our roadsides. He brought that problem to our transportation officials. A beautiful state with ugly hazards hidden in plain sight.
We can literally go from a life-saving device to a device that can kill, mutilate, a recent crash I looked at, incinerate its victims. This rail will go to right here.
Out of tragedy, Steve Eimers has become an expert.
Nothing prepares you for the shock and horror of losing your child.
On November 1st, 2016, his 17-year-old daughter Hannah died when she hit the end of a guardrail in Tennessee. The guardrail speared her car and her.
She was extraordinarily talented, and we shouldn't be where we are.
He sued the guardrail manufacturer over its design, as did multiple other Americans who lost loved ones to the same fate. Eimers says his case came to a satisfactory conclusion, but he's made it his life mission to honor Hannah's life by bringing awareness to guardrail end terminals and keeping other families from feeling his same pain, including families in Idaho.
I want to ensure that nobody faces the horror that I wake up to every day by being the parent of a dead child that was mutilated by a guardrail.
He says he talks to state and federal transportation departments and politicians all over the country.
I saw a pattern of problems across the United States, but also into Canada and around the world.
One issue really struck a chord: Frankenstein guardrails.
We're getting, say, two good systems, and we're mixing the parts up and creating a monster on our roadside. And I have seen far too many deaths where we have a rail that was installed upside down and backwards, or a bolt. One bolt does matter, it can kill you.
Guardrails are critical to keeping people safe, protecting drivers from embankments, trees, bridges. The Federal Highway Administration says in commonly used energy-absorbing guardrail end terminals, the impact head is designed to slide down the guardrail when hit. If a car hits it head-on, the impact head would flatten the guardrail, like this, and direct the rail away from the car until the car stops. If it's hit at an angle, the head could partially flatten the guardrail and then gate out of the way, letting the car slow down and go behind the rail. If none of that happens, the rail could potentially impale the car. Guardrail manufacturers warn not to mix parts. This manual from Trinity Highway Products, now Valtier, says failure to follow this warning could result in serious injury or death in the event of a vehicle impact with a system that has not been accepted by the Federal Highway Administration. Idaho Transportation Department standards also tell crews to install guardrail systems the way manufacturers instruct, which passed crash-worthy tests and are accepted by the Federal Highway Administration. But Eimers found 28 potentially dangerous Frankenstein or improperly installed guardrails on I-84 in Idaho alone.
The problem was so overwhelming and dangerous in the state of Idaho.
He used Google Street View to inspect the interstate last year.
I started seeing a pattern of impact heads from one manufacturer being installed with rails from another manufacturer. Or I was seeing a lot of Trinity slotted rail terminals where the second rail was installed upside down and backwards. And as I began seeing this, and I saw it again and again, I realized this is really severe.
This is considered Frankenstein, with different guardrails installed together. As you can see, this first one has slots. The second one is a generic guardrail without slots. This is not consistent with how manufacturers say these guardrails need to be installed.
Several miles west on I-84 from that guardrail sits one of the worst Frankenstein guardrails Eimers has ever seen.
When somebody can make that many mistakes, we are dealing with a lack of inspections, a lack of oversight from ITD, with a lack of training of the installers and contractors. And that's a very expensive mistake, because we're talking about expensive guardrail systems. So we have to make sure these devices that we're paying for with our state tax dollars or federal aid dollars are being properly installed. Otherwise, we are misappropriating tens of millions of dollars annually and killing people on our roadsides.
ITD spokesman John Tomlinson says drivers very rarely crash into end terminals. Between 2017 and 2021, 4 people in Idaho died after their car hit a guardrail end terminal.
But we have no evidence through the police reports, through the crash reports, that was what killed the person.
Eimers pressured ITD to look at every guardrail end terminal in the state.
Please don't make an Idaho family be where I'm at. You don't have to have somebody in Idaho die. I have shown there is a systemic problem. This is not isolated to I-84. This is a statewide issue. These need to be physically inspected. They need to be walked. They need to be inspected for damage.
ITD says it listened to Eimers and is taking action.
We're doing an inventory of the whole statewide system. We want to make sure that they're properly installed, that they're safe. Anytime we have damage to a guardrail, the ends there, what we're doing is we're making sure that they are installed properly, that if there is damage, that we want to get on it right away. We want to fix it, and we want to make sure that we fix it right.
Tomlinson says in October, crews started looking deeper at each of the 10,000 guardrail ends spread out on more than 900 miles of guardrail on state-owned roads.
There's no way of knowing, who installed improperly. This is something that we're looking into.
That's my ultimate goal when I engage with a state DOT, is to change their culture, but they have to do better training. They have to do better training.
Railco from Meridian contracts with ITD to install and occasionally repair guardrails in the state. The owner tells me the mixing of parts or improper installation could happen if ITD is not inspecting their own crew's maintenance work to make sure it's done right. When asked why they're installing or repairing guardrails wrong, Tomlinson said it could be due to a backlog of supplies. Now,
what we want to do is we want to make sure that we do it to the standards, to the proper standards. We want to make sure that we have the proper equipment and that we do it right.
If ITD finds issues with guardrail ends, Tomlinson says they'll fix them.
And then just making sure that we have the proper channels of communication when it comes to our maintenance foremen, getting it down to the maintenance crews, our contractors, everybody coming together because we want to just make sure that it's safe.
Making sure our highway system is safer will take time and cost Idahoans money. ITD won't know how much fixing improper and Frankenstein guardrails will cost until after they finish taking inventory.
We have to make sure that we have the funds to be able to do that, but it's important. If it's something that's causing people to lose their lives, get seriously injured, then we are all about making any changes that need to be made.
It's going to be expensive, but the loss of life that we are experiencing on our roadside across the nation, that's expensive.
Tomlinson told me today, quote, "We are aware of some breakaway end treatments that we want to modify and will continue our inventory of the entire state highway system over the next few months." Again, ITD says it is not aware of any of these end treatments not working properly during a crash in Idaho. Eimers, meanwhile, says he not only wants to solve the issue of dangerous guardrails, but as you heard him talk about, he wants to change Transportation Department's internal cultures so they prioritize safety. He's working to get state DOTs, the Federal Highway Administration, and guardrail manufacturers to come out with stronger unified guidance. And he's working to get manufacturers to add this side up stickers or color-coded labels to their systems. I reached out to the governor's office to see whether the state is willing to pay for repairs on any improperly installed terminals. His press secretary released a statement to me that read in part, quote, Governor Little has long advocated for transportation investments that improve safety, relieve congestion, and promote commerce. Since taking office, Governor Little has worked with his legislative partners to pass historic transportation funding packages that have addressed deferred maintenance and known safety gaps across the state.